So will Boox be able to take what I believe is the best value tablet in e-ink right now, the Boox Go 10.3, and improve it by removing EMR and going with capacitive? Let's talk about it. Welcome everybody back to the channel. This is 2530 Media, and of course, I am Aaron Reed. Hey, if you guys are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of when I release these videos, which I try to do at least once a week. And of course, if you're finding the information that you're listening to entertaining, informative, or you just want to, go ahead and give your boy a like. Now, today we're going to talk about the Go 10.3. Some people in the space have called it the GOAT. Other people have called it a multi-purpose e-ink tablet. This is the Boox Go 10.3 Gen 1. This has been my daily driver for the last year and a half. And this next tablet, this is the Boox Go 10.3 Gen 2 LUMI, dual temperature Frontlight, and pretty much everything else that you know and love about the 10.3. When I heard that Boox was taking the Go 10.3, my daily driver, and coming out with a Gen 2 with a Frontlight, I was extremely excited. But then when I heard they were moving from EMR to active stylus, I became a skeptic. Going off of my experience with the Go 7, that writing experience just wasn't good enough for me to use as a daily note taker. So to then take my daily driving Boox Go 10.3, take away my EMR, and give me active, I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to pull it off. So in this review, we're going to look at the Boox Go 10.3 Gen 2 LUMI to see if they nailed the active writing experience, or do you need to just stick with your Gen 1 10.3? Let's talk about it. So let's look at some of the key differences with the 10.3 Gen 1 and the 10.3 Gen 2. All are going to be 300 ppi. Of course, they're all going to be monochrome screens. Your Gen 2s are going to have the advanced octa-core processor, while your Gen 1 just has a regular octa-core processor. Your LUMI is going to have a dual tone front light, while the other two don't. They all are readable within the sunlight, all have dual speakers, auto rotation, all look like they have the same storage. Your Gen 2s are going to be capacitive, so they're all going to support the Boox Inksense Pro, while the original Gen 1 is just going to support the Boox magnetic stylus. All three will be able to utilize the Boox magnetic case or folio. Your Gen 2s are going to have Android 15. Your Gen 1 will be Android 12. Both generations will have access to the Google Play. The Gen 2s are going to be 4.8 millimeters thick, while the Gen 1 is 4.6. Your Gen 2s will weigh 364 grams, while the Gen 1 is 375. And of course, price point, your Gen 1, the cheapest at $379.99. The Gen 2 no light is going to be $399.99, and your Gen 2 LUMI is going to be $429.99. Now let's talk about the handwriting. We're going to have the Gen 1 10.3 on the left, and we're going to have the LUMI on the right. And let's see if we can find any differences between EMR versus capacitive. So now we have our hello world on both tablets. Now let's do the same thing on the Gen 1. Let's make sure we have the same pen selected on both tablets. So I went into my pen settings to make sure I have both settings as close as I can. Now we'll see here on the LUMI, we have two more settings than we have on the 10.3. We have a pressure sensitivity setting, and we have a stroke stabilization setting. I'm going to leave those how they are. I never changed them from when I set up the LUMI, so I'm going to see if that makes a difference. So now that I have both writing samples side by side, I do think there is a slight difference. Not necessarily in the writing strokes, how my handwriting looks, to me, my handwriting looks the same on both the LUMI and the Gen 1 10.3. I think some of the difference is I have 2 extra pen settings here on the LUMI than I have on the 10.3 Gen 1. One being pressure sensitivity, another one being stroke stabilization. Another factor that's going to go into this is the actual Stylus that I'm using for the 10.3 Gen 1, which is a LUMI AL Star that tends to write slightly lighter than some of your other styli. But with that being said, when I'm looking at the handwriting on both the 10.3 Gen 1 and the LUMI, I don't see a difference in my strokes. I don't see a difference in my handwriting. They both look the same, like my horrible handwriting. I think the strokes are both identical. One is a little darker, I think, because the pressure sensitivity is a little higher. But outside of that, to me, I think that this active stylus input for the LUMI works just as good, if not better, than the EMR on the 10.3. The writing feel, to me, is just as good as the original 10.3, if not better. So I'll let you guys be the judge. Which one do you think looks best? The 10.3 Gen 1 or the LUMI? If you ask me, I think they both look great. I really can't tell the difference between the two when it comes to writing, writing feel, the writing strokes, the clarity of my words and letters. I can't tell a difference. So this entire page of writing is a mixture of both the 10.3 Gen 1 and the LUMI. I can't tell a difference between the S's, the 6's, the G's inside of my handwriting. Some of those letters or strokes that you would be able to tell the difference between active and EMR. I think my handwriting is just consistently bad. But however, I can't tell a difference between the strokes or between which one was made with which. Like I said, this is a mixture of both EMR and capacitive from the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 LUMI. You guys be the judge. If you ask me, I don't really see a difference. There could be a difference within the strokes. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not even saying that EMR isn't better or more accurate than the active pen tech. I'm saying when it comes to what Boox has done with the Gen 2 LUMI and their active styli versus what you get with EMR, I honestly can't see a difference. While we are in the Notes app, we're going to look at some features that are inside of the 4.2 update on the LUMI that I think improve the user experience. First, we're going to look at the scroll note. If you notice here, you have a line break or page break. So this is going to let you know you're going to the next page. So now that we're on the next page, we're going to try to create an event from our Notes app. So now what we're going to do, we're going to use our smart lasso and we're going to see a couple of different options now. So now that I've used my smart lasso, we're going to notice that we have a couple of different options on the LUMI that we normally won't have on the 10.3. Let me show you guys. So first we're going to smart lasso the LUMI. Now we see the choices we have. Next, we're going to do the smart lasso on the 10.3 Gen 1. Now, if you notice, we have a couple of different tools at the site of selection. This is going to be the difference between 4.1.1 and 4.2. So now we're going to start from right to left, and you notice we have the first three options that are the same. Those usually like your cut and paste or copy and paste tools. From there, we're going to have the same tool that allows us to change the color of our font. Next, we have the same inserting tools, and of course, we do have the same tagging tools. We also have our same hamburger bars that give us more options. Now, this is where it changes. On the LUMI, you're going to have the ability to manage your layers directly from the floating toolbar that we don't have here. We still have the ability to delete this selection, and now we have the ability to create an event. So on the LUMI, we're going to create this event. Now that we've decided to create our event, we have a couple of different options. We can either create the event or we can create a reminder. So it's detected what we want to do. 10.3 LUMI review 4626 at 2530 media. We have that there. Now here's where we have the option to leave the note attached to the event, or we could take it away. We're going to leave that attached. We have the option to make it an all-day event or just a single event. From here, we have the date and the time. Now, it's going to reflect the time it is when you're creating this event. So if I wanted to create this event for a later time, I would simply just tap on that, select which time that I want to create it for. I have my time zone. I have a reminder if I want to set one. I have an alert if I want to set one. And I have the option if I want this to repeat. So if this is going to be a reoccurring event, I could always make it repeat. This lets me know what calendar I'm going to put it on. So if you see here, when I select that, I have the ability to put it on my Onyx calendar or my 2530 media calendar. So we're going to select that one for my Gmail. And then here I can put any notes I want. We're just going to put one simple note. We're going to hit OK. Now we've created that event. Let's see what that looks like. So now we're at calendar memo. We see our events here. This is the event we just created. 10.3 LUMI review 4/6/2026 at 2530 media. And we have our note here for our test. So now I have my iPhone here. And if we look at the 6th, we'll see this is the event we created. 10.3 LUMI review 4/6/2026 at 2530 media. When I select it, all of my information is there. Even my notes did say test. So you have your new Boox Go 10.3 Gen 2 LUMI and you're ready to get started. Once I signed into my Wi-Fi, I was alerted that there is a new software update 4.2. Once I downloaded that, I then signed into my Onyx Cloud. Once I signed into my Onyx Cloud, all of my notes synced to my Notes app for use. My library titles synced as well. However, the only thing that's going to sync is going to be your reading data. You're going to get icon representation of those titles. However, those titles will not be downloaded to your tablet. Once you go to select that title, you're going to get this error message that is letting you know the source file has not been synced to the Onyx Cloud. I'll show you guys how to do that. Then I'll show you guys a faster way to make sure all of your titles automatically push to whatever tablet you're using. If you have a multi-tablet workflow, all you have to do is send it once. If you're moving from an old tablet to a recently purchased tablet, I'll show you guys how to make sure your title sync as well. So let's talk about it. So to do that, we're going to hop over to the Gen 1. So the title that we're trying to get on our LUMI is going to be the MacBook Neo title, and we got our error message. So what you're going to do is we're going to go to the Gen 1 10.3. This is where this source file was originally placed. So we're going to go over to the Gen 1. The Gen 1 is where this EPUB was originally downloaded. We're going to long press the icon. Once we long press the icon, we're going to have the information for this EPUB. We're going to have a couple of options here. We're going to be under the sync option. Once we get to the sync option, we're going to look at the top right hand corner here. If you notice, it gives us the information that this is Onyx Sync and it's asking us to upload the source file. Once we select it, you're going to get a message just to let you know what you're doing. Then we're going to hit upload. Now the source file has been uploaded to Onyx Cloud. Now the source file has been successfully uploaded to our Onyx Cloud. Now back over to the LUMI. We're going to select the title. Now that title is downloading to the LUMI. And now we've opened it. You're going to use this process if you're using a multi-tablet workflow and you originally download a EPUB or PDF on one tablet, and if you want to access it on the next tablet, you're going to have to do that manual sync to Onyx Cloud. Now let me show you some settings that you can use that will automatically push the source file to all of your tablets at once. So now we're back to the home page of our library, and we're going to dive into some library settings. So once you go to your menu icon over here, we're going to go down to library settings. Once we enter our library settings, the place that we want to go to is import books from folders. Now when you select this is going to give you a list of your folders that will automatically import books to your library and sync those books with the Onyx Cloud. If you have here, we have books, we have storage shop, and we have storage push. We also have storage download Onyx. Now, I make sure that I have storage push selected on all of my Boox tablets. So if you see here, I make sure I have storage push on all of my Boox tablets. By having storage push selected on all of my Boox tablets, whenever I push a title from my phone, from the partner app on my desktop, it's going to automatically go to storage push. Once it automatically goes to storage push, the title will automatically appear in your library with that source file downloaded. These are two new EPUBs that I moved over through the Boox push. I did it once, and it pushed both of those titles to all of my Boox tablets because I have that setting turned on. Having that setting turned on will ensure that if you're using the method of send to Boox or Boox push, those titles will move to all of your Boox tablets that you have that setting on. If you're like me and you sometimes sideload EPUBs or PDFs to your tablet, you're going to want to follow the previous process that we talked about earlier, where you manually sync your source files to your Onyx sync. Once you've manually synced them, then they will be available on the rest of your Boox tablets. So that was our first look at the Boox Go 10.3 Gen 2 LUMI, the 10.3 with the dual temperature front light, and the active Stylus input. I want to know you guys' thoughts. We did a side-by-side comparison of the handwriting with the original 10.3 and the LUMI, and we looked at EMR versus active. I want to know if you guys can tell a difference. Do you see a difference in the strokes? Do you see a difference in line quality? Did you guys see a difference in writing experience? Now, for me, I didn't see a difference in writing experience, nor did I see a drop-off in writing quality and writing feel. To be honest with you, it's improved a little bit over the original 10.3, which is a big statement because I enjoy writing on the original 10.3. Outside of that, it feels like the same tablet. The Gen 2 feels just like the Gen 1. The only difference in experience you're going to have now is the availability of the 4.2 software update on the Gen 2 LUMI that has not yet arrived to the Gen 1 10.3. So what does that mean? In my opinion, if you don't need a Frontlight, you probably can skip this one. Yeah, it's a little faster, it's a little snappier, but the Gen 1 10.3 is still just as good, just as fast, and just as snappy. And once we get the 4.2 software for the Gen 1 10.3, you're basically going to have the same tablet minus that dual temperature front light. Now, some people have had some issues with their Gen 2 LUMI out of the box. Some people had an issue getting the 4.2 software. Some people had some problems with AI tools in the notes. Some people are having issues with their library syncing. I haven't experienced any of those issues. It crashed once within the last 3 days of me using it. Outside of that, it's been fine. In this review, we covered that writing experience, that side-by-side comparison. We also went over a little bit of setup. We showed how you can get your library to sync between tablets if you are a multi-tablet user or if you're moving to a new tablet from an older tablet. Showed you guys the best practice in syncing that library and how you can set it up to make sure all of your EPUBs and documents download to all of your tablets at once. We also looked at the improvements in the calendar app that software update 4.2 is going to bring you guys once it pushes to all the tablets. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thanks for checking out the channel, and I'll see you on the next review.